Hey guys, welcome to India Campus Guru. Uh, is I'm gonna continue about SAP Security interview tips. I know we have two videos posted which talks about how you should prepare for your first or whatever interview on a junior level in SAP Security. So today I'm gonna talk about on a similar topic but focusing on the HANA security. So if you guys are new, you don't have heard about HANA. HANA is a SAP's own database. It's in-memory database, which is faster, more robust, and I would say this is what SAP is kind of doing it. So if you are a new customer, or if you're supporting a customer, or if you're working for a project, there is 100% chance like you would be also working on a database called HANA, which is SAP's own database. So yeah, so before I begin, I think I maybe just talk about briefly what HANA is. So yeah, HANA is a database given by SAP, and it would be part of your SAP three layer, like your application, which is SAP application, the actual SAP where things for ERP are being done. Then you will have a database, and then you will have operating system, whether it's a Linux or Windows or whatever, right? So as a security personnel, you should be, I would say, securing all the layers, not just the application layer, right? So traditionally, SAP security guys have been focusing on just on the application layer, but the things how is improving, is expanding. Now you are expected to know every layer and be able to work on every layer security, whether it's operating system. I would not say operating system, but probably in future you should know how these things work, right? So talking about HANA database as a database, and I would also ask like why like database, like why we are trying to secure database, right? So I can talk about a couple of use cases why you have to secure or do your security thing for HANA. So most of the times there would be, if you talk about like HANA is part of the BI, the business and intelligence, or whatever you call as well. So the BI team, because you have tables and all these things going on the database, so they sometimes they build their own BI models or views, to be pretty precise, and those models or views would be consumed by end user, either directly from HANA through HANA Studio, which is the HANA client, or via a, I would say, front end system, which can be BobJ, which is a business object, or it can be SAP's new SaaS based system called SEC, which is called SAP's Analytics Cloud, right? So HANA database kind of serve as like a data layer where all the data, all the tables and everything is there, and then those data are consumed by either building models or views, and then same are exposed to BobJ or whatever way the systems are set up, right? So as a security personnel, as a SAP security guy, you're supposed to be building HANA roles based on what requirement is, and also creating IDs, and maybe also sometime work on single sign-on if there's integration between BobJ to HANA or SCC to HANA, right? So know it like, yeah, not just SAP ABAP security, you should also know HANA security. So if I just talk about interview tips, I would say know what HANA database is. So I would say the first point would be knowing, just briefly knowing what HANA database is, right? And why you need to secure it, correct? Okay. And when HANA came, I think the version was 1 point whatever, I think different subversions. Now the current version is HANA 2.0. So knowing that also, okay, HANA, I would not say nobody's going to ask you, but yeah, if you can tell, okay, I have worked on 1.x or currently is 2.x, whatever subversion is going on. So knowing that also, I think would be something I would say you should know, right? And third point, I would start, okay, so people will ask like, what did you do on HANA security, right? So the first thing you should know, okay, I built roles, right? And so the next question would be, okay, HANA roles, right? Similar to you build roles in ABAP via PFCG, you would be building HANA roles in either in HANA Studio, which is the GUI client, or there is a web IDE which is still not being used that, but it's kind of what SAP is pushing to. You should be using HANA IDE to build or do any kind of a development, whether it's a BI, building modeling, or building your roles, right? So I would say, yeah, you can build HANA roles from HANA Studio. That's where probably people have been doing it. HANA Studio, you can also use uh, SQL, SQL as well, or just simply use those options, right? And the second would be, I would say, the web IDE. That's like a web a URL where you log in and then you would see same options, right? So knowing that also, I would say, is helpful. The fourth point I would say would be what type of HANA roles are there, right? So type of HANA roles. Okay, so there are two types. I think it started with only one, and now because SAP saw a lot of issues with the what model we had, and they kind of went ahead and built the new roles. So the old or the legacy kind of a way was, it's called catalog roles. Okay, and the new one, or the, I would say, the best practice, or the one we should be building, is called repository roles. Repository roles. Okay, so yeah, I would say focus on these. Okay, knowing like, okay, there are two type of roles, and this is what you should be building. Okay, not the catalog roles. Okay, you should be building repository roles, and we'll talk next why and what is the reason for saying that. Okay, so first basic, I would say, before I jump to the what difference we have in these two roles, just know what HANA is. Know, okay, it has different versions, and current version is 2.x. Know how you can build HANA roles via HANA Studio or through web IDE, and then type of HANA roles. Okay, so let's go and talk about difference between catalog and repository. Okay, so catalog role and repository role. Excuse me if I do some spelling mistake. I'm not trying to be accurate here. I'm just trying to make sure you get the concept right. You can always do Google and try to find and read SAP blogs, right? So catalog roles, as I said, is a legacy way of building HANA roles, and this is, I would say, the new and the recommended one. New, recommended one. So if somebody asks you in interview which kind of a role you should be building, for sure, repository roles. Okay, why not catalog role? I think, yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain here. So if you have understand, like, okay, on the SAP ABAP side, right, you build your roles in dev, you move via following a change process, whatever change process you have, you move to quality, you do your testing, and then you move to production via transport or STMS path, right? So ideally you would like to follow the same process, same policy here too, right? So with the catalog roles, because they are catalog roles, or sometimes they're also called runtime roles. Okay, so I can say runtime roles. Sorry, I missed that line here. One runtime role. Okay, so because they are created at runtime, so it meaning if you have to create a role in dev, you would create directly in dev. If you have to create role in QA, you also have to go and directly create in QA. If you have to move in production, there is no way to transport that or move that role, so you have to manually create that role in production as well, which is, if you are a SOX company, if you have regulation, and that should be strictly no, you should never be creating things in production directly, right? So because it's a runtime role, you can't transport it. Okay, because you can't transport, so it fails your first, I would say, compliance check. Like, you should not be doing something directly in production, so it's not recommended. It was there before, but now I think it's not recommended to use catalog roles. Okay, so that is the first reason. The second, I would say, the biggest one, or the one which is like a more riskier than the first one, is, suppose I am a HANA security guy, right? And I first create that role, the catalog role with my ID. uh, I would be the owner of that role. Okay, and so I would not be doing this job forever, right? I may leave this project or this company or whatever, right? And when I do that, my ID may be deactivated or even deleted, right? So the reason I said I would be the owner of that role, that meaning if my ID is ever gets deleted, all the objects I owned, it's like object ownership in HANA. So all the objects I owned would also be deleted or deactivated. So that does add a risk there, right? Like, if you have roles being built by a named account and the named account is no longer with the company, you are risking your entire security posture, right? Another thing would be, okay, I'm an admin and I assign a role to a user, right? So that assignment would also be happening with my ID itself for the catalog role. So same issue, if I get terminated, my ID gets deleted, and the assignment which I did with my ID would also get removed. So object ownership is the issue. We cannot let named account own or HANA objects, right? That's something I would say it should never be done. Role user assignments, right? So that's why I'm saying catalog. Let me do it red here. Catalog roles are a big no. Okay, because it's adding a dependency on a named user, not like a system user or some other user. So SAP realized this, I think, pretty quickly, and then they created the repository role. Okay, so that's what you should be building, similar to the other repo objects built by the BI team, the models they build. So you kind of still do it from HANA Studio, but there is a developer perspective. So you would go in HANA Studio, but in developer. So this role is kind of building a normal, like doing a development, right? So you would go in HANA Studio or Web ID, as I said earlier. Web ID also lets you do that. So you will go there, you'll build your role. So these roles, even though you're building with own ID, would be owned by, there is a default repository owner. This user owns every repository objects being built in your HANA database. Okay, so you should know that as well. I would say, like, sysrepo is the default user which owns all the repository objects, whether it's HANA models, HANA views, the repository models I'm talking, not the catalog one, and the role you are building, which is a repository role. So what this thing does, this is solving the problem of object ownership by the, like, my ID, right? So because everything I'm doing is owned by sysrepo, there is no risk of, if I ever my ID gets deleted or I leave the company, my roles and everything is gonna be intact. The same things goes for the role assignment too. So if I assign the repository role which I created, and I assign that to a user, the assignment would happen by this sysrepo user. Okay, so again, that solved that problem too. Also, these repository roles can be moved like a normal object. You would move them either following CTS plus or whatever change process you have. So repository roles can be moved to production. Okay. Sorry, I have to change my color up. Yeah, so it can move to production by following your transport process. Okay. So that's all. It keeps our compliant. So no more creating roles in production directly. Okay. The ownership issue we solved as well. So any ID you used to create is still owned by this repo. The assignment problem we're also solving. So it's solving all these problems. So this is I would say green. Let's do green. So this is a big yes. So you HANA, again, I'm trying to be brief here. I'm not going to deep into building and maybe showing. I'm just seeing this is an interview tips. So know these things, know the difference between catalog and repository roles, know uh, why you should pick one, and what problem the catalog roles has versus what problem repository roles have. Okay, so I think I would stop here. I think we can do a deep dive for the HANA security if you guys think we should have. So add your comments, reach out to us on WhatsApp or Telegram or via email. All the details are provided on our channel, on our videos, comment section as well. But yeah, I think this is I think these comments does motivate us to put more videos. So please do that. Subscribe to our channel if you like our channel, and if you wanna see more such videos, like our videos as well. And yeah, share India Campus Guru. I think the India Campus Guru vision is to bridge the gap from our campus guys to get a on par where they can be ready for a job. For these videos, I'm saying we are trying to train you in SAP security space, but hopefully in future we can add other areas as well as we see value and I see adoption, or I would say more people are coming in. I think our subscriber have surpassed 300 subscriber, which is like I would say small, but it's still a big achievement for us. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys for doing that. Stay safe and always keep learning. Thank you. Bye. Take care.